It is a case of invasion on Nagalim by India. Invasion on Nagalim by India.
The Naga struggle for democracy, for self-determination and sovereignty is not just a political struggle to become a nation in its own right. It's not just for independence of a separate state, separate from India, separate from Myanmar or whatever. It is a struggle for retaining our own governance system, our own self-rule, because it is not just political, it is biodiversity, it is cultural, it is our way of life. It is a sustainable way of life we have been living for thousands of years. And it is there even today, in spite of contamination from the Indian democratic system, the parliamentary form of democracy, where one legislator represents the entire community. That is not the way Nagas function.
To my knowledge and then to my understanding, with utmost respect to the British Empire, before the advent of the British rule to this part of the country, northeastern part of the country, Nagas were neither Indians, they were living independently. Every village had its own authority. They were governed by their own chieftain or like democratically elected council members.
Naga village is like, we compare it to ancient Greek republics, where every small republics were independent in their own ways. So Naga villages are like that. The village here, whether it's big or village, they exist in the sovereign way. No other villages can come and interfere in their governance. So they are completely independent of each other, but they also coexisted as neighbors, as peoples. So in daily functioning, whether it is daily affair or even warfare, they have to protect the land, territory, and the citizens. And every village had their own economy. So in every sense, they were independent of each other. So within this village, this is the sovereign body. They govern the village. So these are the selected member of each clans. Within the village, different clans are there. So from each clan, they will represent.
Nagas were living independently. Slowly and gradually, the Britishers added a part of Naga country. They annexed a part of Naga country to their empire. But still then, we were never like in any way Indians. There was no affinity with the Indian culture. But then we were annexed to the British Indian Empire, a part of Nagaland. And we have been living as an, like a part of annexed British Indian, When the Britishers left, they would have left us as we were before they annexed us. But I feel that they did a mistake by leaving us with the Indians. Therefore, when the Britishers were to leave India, and then Indians were about to get their independence from the British Empire, the Nagas went ahead and then declared independence one day ahead of the Indians. And since then, we have been fighting that the Indians should leave us alone. But till today, in spite of our struggle, we have suffered a lot. innocent people have sacrificed their life throughout this, like bitter struggle with the Indian government.
Human rights organizations was established to expose the military deeds on the Naga people, how villages were burned down, women raped, tortured, men, old men, young men alike killed, butchered. I mean, it's quite nightmarish even to recollect what has been done to the Nagas.
On 6 September 1960, the villages were already in the field. They were innocent. They have not done any crime or anything at all. But the Indian armies, they came to our village, and then they, out of nothing, villages were tortured, and then they were beheaded. So this is the place where in 1960 it was the village chief residence home. So the 9 innocent lives were being beheaded from here at this spot. And then just before beheading of them, they were made a sit and jump up. They were the whole day they were being tortured at this place only. This is the place. So this is our living witness. His name is Recipa RGB. In 1960, he was 9 or 10 years old. So he has witnessed everything. Male folks were being closed here, and then the women folks were being secreted there. They were allowed to stay at that side. And then all those incident, these women folks were the witnesses. They have seen everything. Men folks were being allowed to jump from here down, and then women folks were the witnesses. So they were segregated, they were separated. Men folks were allowed to make a jump, frog jump. Yeah, all day they were being tortured. That's what we wanted to say. There was a war at Tuda, one village called Tuda. Dakota Plain was shot down by the Naga undergrounds. So they mistook that village with our village, maybe. And then they came here, and then the innocent villagers were just, beheaded. So that is the story of what has happened on 6 September. Early on the morning, as they woke up, the village was surrounded. Girls and men were separated. Some even went to field, and then they were separated. Girls, ladies were, kept in one place. They were not allowed to move. And then men folks were made to make fraud down. From up to down, the whole day they were being tortured. The oldest, man in the village was his father. My father could not jump. They were even if they are unable to move, also they were forced to jump. Then his father was tortured badly. So I, And then when he asked his father, since you were beaten a lot, so you should not talk much. That's what he said. But when he went and talked with his father, he was beaten badly. And then I was forced to go and then sleep with the women folks since I was being tortured. And then late, maybe in the afternoon, I don't know the time, but in the afternoon, and then one Indian army came and then woke him up as he was asleep. And then he didn't know, but when he woke up, he saw that, the whole village, was burned, and then houses were burned.
I am Dr. Yangerla. Now I'm a retired medical practitioner. It was around this time, in December month is a Christian state, so December month is regarded as one of the most respected and then revered month for us. We are all Christians, so we celebrate Christmas. So it was just after Christmas. So when people were out in the street shopping and then going here and there, some going to the church, and then some doing last minute shopping, some just strolling around. Suddenly, when a column of army people were out on their duty, suddenly a shot rang out around 9 something, okay? We were just taken aback, what was that? But then at that very bullet instantaneously shot down the commanding officer of the army, Indian military army personnel, no? But then they don't know from where the bullet came, because it's in the middle of the town, no? So you can imagine the reaction of the military people, and with the AFSA around, Armed Forces Special Power Act. Anybody can, use their gun without any order. The army, they ran amok, and then they started shooting here and there. All the people, in the town, everything came to a standstill. And then everyone, whether old or young, man or woman or girls or boys, they were all made to lie down in the street. And then the military people, army people started, beating them. And then all the vehicles parked in the area were burned down. Houses were, gutted. The kind of sprayed the diesel, petrol, kerosene oil, and then all the buildings, big buildings, those landmark buildings were all gutted down. Army people, they did it purposely. And then absolutely, women were molested, some were raped. In the melee, no one was allowed to move around. Some tried to run away, but they were beaten down, they were made to lie down. Even pregnant women, and then people with small babies and, children walking around with their parents, they were all made to lie down. And then when everything was over, no civilians were allowed to move inside the place where this thing happened. The Red Cross Society, International Red Cross Society, we have a unit here. We have a branch here. So we took permission from the army personnel and we went inside the arena. I was also there. And then we went inside the arena. Everything was turned into ashes. All the shops were turned into ashes. All the bones were just in the original shape, but ashes only, turned into ashes. So we collected all that. And then in the process, women, like we all know when the army people, military people, anywhere in the world, when they ran amok, women are the victims. So many of them were molested, but then we could get, because I was in charge, I was given the in charge to, search for those molested women. And then no one wants to come out that I was molested openly because of the social stigma. But then as a doctor, I took the advantage. I went quietly to them. I kind of told them that I'll not expose what had happened to them, but then like as a medical person, I can kind of treat them also. So therefore, like I went about searching, and I could come across eight women. Out of this 8 women, 4 were just very badly molested, but 4 were, they were really raped by the military personnel. In the melee, they had the audacity to even rape the women.
Studying outside Naga, tried to tell our story. And that's how human rights organization was formed, to tell the stories in Delhi, especially, about what the Indian Army is doing. And the Indian intellectuals, the leaders, professors, students alike, they could not believe that Indian Army or Indian government was doing what it was doing in Nagaland. Suppose India is supposed to be the land of Ahimsa. So they said Nagas are lying. Indian Army cannot be doing that kind of things. And that was the time when the Indian Army was reputed, in the words of Indian military generals, saying that the Indian soldiers are known all over the world for its excellent discipline and behavior. Excellent discipline and behavior.
Naga Mothers Association was formed in 1984. First, our aim was to fight social evils. Many issues came out where they approaches NMA, Naga Mothers Association, to support, to speak for them. Anyway, all these issues we tried to tackle. We also felt that we need to approach the different groups, not to kill anymore, because whether they are here or there, they are all our brothers, our sons, our children, our husbands. So we said we started approaching all the groups. We said we don't want any killings. You all are our people. So that was how we started approaching. We have also gone to Delhi for so many times. Together we coordinate ourselves, and then we try to approach even our leaders. But somehow ceasefire came into being. But then we said, okay, it's good that ceasefire has come, but we need early solution. But at the same time, we said it has to be inclusive, not exclusive. So from the very beginning, we, as mothers, we said all are same, all are one. So it has to be, when peace comes or solution comes, it has to be inclusive.
We must understand that the Naga society is a deeply patriarchal society. The history of women's involvement in the Naga movement and women's contribution and role in the Naga struggle have not been documented so far. Though orally it is told in many villages, it hasn't been. But when you look at the movement of the women's movement in various tribes and in different areas of the Naga areas, there has been a very, very strong women's movement for peace, against militarization, against the atrocities of the armies, and against killing each other, as well as for peace. And the effect of the Naga Mothers, the influence and the effect of the Naga Mothers Association is also found in the formation of the Kashmiri Mothers Association, when the Naga mothers had visited Kashmir, in the formation of the Sri Lankan Mothers Association, when a former president had gone to Sri Lanka at the height of the conflicts and encouraged the women of the Sri Lankan women to form themselves into a collective like the Naga mothers has done. Today we are a broken society. You have all kinds of organizations cropping up, but I think the strength of the women, wherever they may be, in whatever organization they may be, I think the strength of the women has sustained this Naga political struggle to a large extent. And I'm very sure with the kind of interactions that have been held with women leaders at national, international forums, especially even with the United Nations, women's right to security, the UNSC resolutions, rape as a war crime, which is still actually to take effect and be recognized in this whole political struggle. I think there are still many issues which the international community can make Naga voices heard, as well as also bring changes within the struggle that we are having.
It is the Indians who betrayed the Nagas. The Naga history is unique, Western is also unique. Therefore, Nagas have every right to have their own constitution, their own right. That is what they would continue to say. No?
The challenge is coming. We have this challenge of contamination of these two forms of democracy because of the neoliberal capitalism form of that is running governments, that is running countries, that is pumping in money into elections to elect a prime minister. So the prime minister has to do the bidding of these capitalist forces, and thereby the indigenous peoples like Nagas are also coming under that sway. And when money talks and everything else collapses, that is what is happening to the Naga people. In spite of having the 371A article, which was guaranteed by the government of India to have special provisions for the state of Nagaland. In spite of that, the political system, the money that is pumped in, the militarization that has been going on and it's increasing. Because of that, the Article 371A, which guarantees self-rule, has not been able to take off. It's not being implemented. And it is unlikely to be implemented. That is the sad story, because we have seen in other parts of India as well, where indigenous peoples are living, the Adivasis as we call them. They have at least two very progressive legislations, one being Panchayat extension to scheduled areas in the indigenous peoples areas of 1996, as well as the Forest Rights Act of 2006. These are progressive revolutionary legislations which gives powers to the village level communities. So the power shifted diametrically from the Indian Parliament right down to the Gram Sabhas, as we call it, the Panchayats, the village level. They have the power to decide everything they want in the manner that they used to always do in the past days. That is under threat even in the rest of the country, and therefore I have very little hope that the Naga way of life, the Article 371A, will be implemented. That's the biggest challenge, because implementation of the PESA Act and the Forest Rights Act is not even 3%. And there is a political will not to implement it. Whichever government comes to India, they make it sure that these laws, these progressive legislations are not implemented, because they want to keep the Adivasis, indigenous peoples in marginalization, exploitation. They want to continue that happens because they want the land. And in these lands there are mines and minerals, oil and all kinds of things that give you power and money. It is in these resource-rich lands that the corporate wants to exploit. And therefore, the same story applies to Nagaland state. Nagaland state being in the gateway, as it were, to the Southeast Asian nations. So they have an Act East policy. In order to to implement the Act East policy, they want Nagaland to be under their sway, and therefore AFSPA, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, continues to be used there. So every army personnel can shoot to kill, and without any accountability. So as long as there is AFSPA, the Indian government can continue to carry out its economic imperatives across the Southeast Asian nations through Nagaland. So Nagaland is at a very critical geographical location for India to venture out into the Southeast Asian nations. And therefore, if the village state democracy continues, then this mission of the Indian government, they want to go to Southeast Asia via Nagaland, will not be possible. And therefore they want to crush the Naga democracy. Because when you make noise, when people make noise, the government has to listen. And therefore this village democracy will not be implemented on purpose. Because India wants the resources, the land, the national highway to pass through the Naga areas, so that its products, its market can be, its economy can flourish at the expense of the indigenous people, the Naga people. So the picture is very gloomy, it is very disturbing, very challenging, but then, as I said, Nagas are not going to give up. They will never give up in spite of so many challenges.
Our history is unique. Position also the unique. And so this is clear. This is clear, and that is signed, but all betrayed and gave us the ultimatum. That is the reason why. That is an insult to us. That is the reason why we were never under the Indians, either by consent or by conquest.
When the first Britishers came, they simply controlled the people. In the process of controlling, they controlled the land. So they started dividing into so many administrative units, and in that, without consulting the people, they have divided the land according to their administrative convenience to different parts. So after the British left, the same thing was followed by India, and Nagas were divided into different states in India and two different countries, Myanmar and India. So those people, those authorities who divided us, they have never seen our land. In reality, they have divided our land, seeking India, drawing room and all those things. When Nagaland state was created, the land was also divided between Nagaland and Assam. Now, who divide this land? Who is the owner of the land? It is not the owner of the land that divides, but someone who has nothing to do with the land. They have divided the land without knowing the boundary, without asking the people to which extent your land is there or your land boundary. I'm from Manipur. When Nagaland state or Manipur state was created, the boundary was made between Manipur and Nagaland. Of course, that was made during the British time. So Britishers, they have never, those people who divided us, our land, they have never seen the place, the mountain. They have drawn only from the paper. So that was inherited by the Indian government. And that's why some part of my land, the mountain, is in Nagaland. The village and the battlefield is in Manipur. So when Manipur and Nagaland state was created, my land was also divided. A part of the land is in Nagaland, a larger part in Manipur. We go to the field for farming in the Manipur side, because my village is that side. But we go for hunting with my grandpa to the other side of the mountain, which is called as Nagaland. So this is how, even without the knowledge of the next neighboring village and my village, The boundary was arbitrarily made, what we call as political boundary, by the state, by the government of India. You know that even in the boundary between them, which is very common or famous, the king house was divided into two countries, Myanmar and India, which you might have heard about that. You know, this kind of arbitrary division of land by the, those people who are in power is very common even within the state in India. And who divide this? Without the knowledge, without consulting the people, they have divided like this. Until today, it is not rectified. And everybody knew that the land should not be divided in this manner. It has to be, the land is owned by the owner, not by the one who came and ruled them. So this is still continuing until unless we resolve this. As human being, we will have problem these land issues. So this is one serious problem. How the land of these indigenous people are arbitrarily divided and distributed or all those things by the rulers.
To make matter worse, I'm also one from a community where we are divided into 3 states. You might have heard about the Zeliangrong Naga history. We are divided in Assam, that is NC Hills, then in Nagaland, Peren district, then in Manipur under Tamenglong district. So we are divided into 3 states. So I'm from that community. So you can imagine how the Nagas are and how British India have really made the Naga people to suffer like an orphan till today.
How we Nagas are suffering in the Myanmar occupied Naga area. Naga is divided into 2 countries in many states, everybody knows. I belong to Tangsang. So we are living in the two so-called 2 countries. And Konyak also in the both country. And Mokuri, we call it that side in Mokuri, this side Yimchonga. In Kim Jong-un, they are 50-50 in the both side. We are living. In Tangkon also, 50% in the Burma side and 50% is India side. So we are divided into 2 countries without knowledge of the Nagas.
The things happening now in Myanmar never happened in the world before. Why? Because they kill their own people, their parents, their brothers, sisters, like wild animal in the jungle. Shoot any place. When you get a people, army is doing that. So, I think many people from the other countries also might have seen it. But the nature of the human being is that unless my skin is dust, it is okay. So now, in Myanmar, just holding baby like this and shooting from that, so I'm dying here. In human manner or cruelty happening in Myanmar, burning the houses, it is now nearly 20,000. The way they are operating is this: the whole military force, they march to one village, and villagers, knowing that just killing them, so all villagers went away from the village. Then they started killing and stealing the people's property. They go inside the house. When there is gold, they'll take it. Money, they'll take it. Anything, they took it. Myanmar is left in the dark. Happening things unseen. They said, killing human being is very easy, because People are without arms, just going around and they shoot any place they get. That is the situation. Yes, we suffer here also because of Indian army. No doubt, we know that. But comparing Myanmar, now happening in Myanmar is 100 times worse than this side. This side. Why? Because they kill their own brother, their own these parents, and they rape. Everything they are doing. Very inhuman manner they are doing. And it is known to America, USA, UK, every foreign countries. And this useless Russia is helping them. Because, no, why I'm talking about Russia? Because they are helping them, arms, ammunition, up to aeroplane. So they are bombing everywhere.
Money is used for dismantling Naga village democratic institution. And there's a huge problem in every village now. Everyone is fighting to be the leader in the village in order to enjoy that fun. This is how, in the name of development, the basic structure of the Naga society village structure, which sustained the Naga movement against India, they are trying to destroy it. How much money they have given to army in the form of army development and all those things. So I don't see, as a student of economics, I don't see much of all those development programs that is given to Nagaland as development program. It is more oriented towards counter-insurgency or to eliminate the Naga struggle against India, or for that matter, Naga's movement for their self-determination.
Many battles were fought from here. Our village is almost more than 500 years old. The Konoma battle was also fought from this fort. So many times demolition, many times reconstruction. And this is the last reconstruction. It was reconstructed in 1990. Our Independence Day, 14 August. But still we are fighting for our free Naga nation. When the Britishers came here, they declared that you can be a free Naga nation. Still, we are under the Indian rule. Yes. We have many undergrounds, overgrounds, fighting for our free Naga nation. And the first fighting for the free Naga nation is at Pizo. He's from this village. He started and he organized the military people to fight against the Indian, because you can see, you can learn that we the Naga are different from the Indian people. Our culture is different. Our looks are also different. And we are very different from the Indian people. So for that very reason, we want a free Naga nation. There is a face on that rock, looks like a human face. Some people came and believe it the face of Buddha. Some people believe it the face of Shiva. They came to worship also, but we Konoma people did not allow them to worship anymore. It is not the face of Buddha. It is not the face of Shiva. For us, it is the face of Shekyu. Shekyu means the caretaker of our animal. In the early days, hunting is a game for us. So with the hunters, used to go and look at the face of Shekyu and predict from the face of Shekyu. When the face looks like smiling face, the hunter won't get anything on that day. When the face looks like gloomy face, the hunter will get on that day. And if the hunters got something, got an animal on that day, we must cut a small piece of ear and give the share of shakil. We will give the share of shakil and thank you, shakil. I got your animal today. Please give me on another day again. So we must give the share to shakil. Yes. The ear of that animal, what we got.
No, there was no agreement with the Britishers that that we have become a British subject. They just came and controlled not all the villages, even if there was no full control over other parts of Naga homeland. They have for their own business, for those things they have in some pockets. Because it is, for example, it is easy for them to control Manipur. Manipur. That is Kanglepa. Because if you control the king, all the subjects are under the British rule. But Naga, since we have a different political system, each village is independent. So when one village say, yes, I want to be under British, that doesn't mean that all the Naga villages are under the British. There was no agreement with the Britishers also.
The British state, since they didn't have the Naga, or the entire Nagas under their sway, under their rule, there was this unadministered zone, unadministered areas. A large tract of it was not part of the British governance. And therefore, when they left in 1947, they should have, and since they have not handed it over to India, how can India claim the entire Naga areas to be theirs? So the British is responsible for leaving us high and dry. Since they didn't own a huge tract of land, how could they have given something that didn't come under the British rule to India? So once the British left, India took over the entire land and claimed that even those unadministered areas belong to India. So a lot of force was used, and the Armed Forces Special Powers Act is suppressing and oppressing the Nagas and ensuring that the Indian parliamentary democracy system rules over the Naga people. Because this post-colonial accountability has to go through the United Nations system. And when indigenous peoples themselves, all over the world, have no access to the real power centers in the United Nations, people don't feel that they should start venturing into that space. Yeah. The post-colonial accountability is within the UN system, and the Indian government, in our case, cares two hoots about the UN system. The post-colonial accountability mechanism, even if we reach there, what will it do? That's the real problem. So we have no hope in that, and therefore the Naga people are not buying into that thing for struggling, campaigning for post-colonial accountability. So in the camera, when we are talking, we tell the problem. This question of post-colonial accountability is not finding traction among the people, Naga people, to start campaigning for. Why? Because they know, we know, that the United Nations system is opaque, and structurally it is not organic, that is not enabling for the most of the indigenous peoples across the world, including the Nagas. So we are not able to buy into that argument that we can campaign for post-colonial accountability, because structural causes are there why we cannot, our voice do not find space in the UN system. It is the case with all indigenous people across the world.
Talking about when we are going and they are just explaining we have to go that side, we have to go this side, because we have a different battlefield. Some are from that side, some are from this side, so they are going separately. They came here and discuss about it, and they will just separate and go different way. Yeah, they are going with the vehicles and they will go. It would take 10 minutes by this vehicle, but by foot walking, though 45 or 30, or some are near, some are far, so that is depend on that.
Our village democracy was there since time immemorial, but it was not allowed to flourish. Britishers came, they attacked us, but we were able to, preserve it. Then after the Britishers left, Indian government took over the reign, and they have been attacking us militarily, monetarily, and politically, as well as culturally. But though we are not able to protect it fully, but still, we still have that real element of village democracy. And against a mighty nation like India, we are still able to, keep that democracy intact to a certain degree, though it is under the attack. So the world can ask how this democracy is able to sustain, how the Naga villages are able to govern themselves in the face of the imposed Indian democracy or military rule and all those things which is alien to them. Instead of helping develop Nagas to develop their democracy, refine their democracy, they have been attacking. But still, this democracy is still, we are able to preserve it. And this is the only reason why we are Nagas, a small population in small land, we're able to resist, or for that matter, wage political conflict against the mighty nation. So it will be good if the world can come and see how this democracy or the Naga democracy is able to sustain. And this might give a good idea to the big countries how to govern the people or society in a harmonious manner, so that, like the Naga villages, everyone lives equally. So I think I want to appeal to the world community, or to the scholars, to the great leaders of the world, that here in this Naga democracy, you might find the medicine to cure the political problem of the world or different countries. But our concept is on that the king has to remain poor. He has to serve the people. If the king prospers, the subject suffers. Therefore, the ideal king, our king, should suffer, struggle, so that the subject prosper. So that is our concept of king. And we don't have the king, we don't have that armies or all those things to do that. And the king doesn't take unilateral decision.
My name is Namba, son of King Karang. I'm the chief of Maram. I will share you the Maram culture. In Maram culture, when the time for cultivations and plowing field, the king will give the directions and the order to begin the cultivations. In matters of cultivations and other related activities, the kings will begin the activity first, whether tilling the field, plowing the field, or plantations, transplantations, or harvesting. The king will first commence to be followed by the villagers.
No shortage of the water. Two big things is there. How we can manage for the paddy field in the top of the mountain. There are small streams are coming, and then we make it is two big streams. In the right side means Ziza. Then in left side is Kur. We bring the water from the largest stream is there. It's a river. Then we bring those things to this canal, like a small canal is there for the paddy field. Share every paddy field to share everyone.
It's important that we look at what's happening right now and why we really have lost confidence in the kind of negotiations that are going on. And the very fact that you do have different countries visiting Nagaland almost the whole year round. And these are all political visitors, heads of states, heads of countries who keep on coming to the state. So from all these countries, especially the European countries, there has been a lot of interest on Nagaland and the Naga people. The question is the interest economic? Is the interest related to balancing powers with China to see that this border area is kept as it is? Or are their interests really genuine? It is actually very important for the British government to realize that having been a part of us and having been here and having left us, it is actually very important for them also to realize the kind of negotiation and the peace process that they have had with the Irish. The Irish peace process, the Good Friday, there has been positive changes where you've had finally Stormont, the parliament opening up after how many years, And so possibilities like that, I think, no matter how many trips and how many visits they have made to the state here, and the kind of presentations and entertainments and whatever kind of dialogue has been happening, we are left with with a very cynical mind as to really how interested are these European countries that keep on visiting us. This is something I'd like to say because having been Ningolo myself, we have also been alumni of the International Visitors Leadership Program of the US government. Now, these are all government-related fellowships for various programs that we have been. And almost it's an annual pilgrimage for all these European countries and their heads to be coming to this state, particularly during the Hornbill Festival. And most of their political councillors are concentrating right now on the situation in Nagaland. So that is the reality right now. What are we looking ahead for? We definitely are looking for some kind of action from particularly the British government. We are well aware of the Rivers Museum, the artifacts being tried to be returned here. Returning the dead for the Naga community is actually a very serious and symbolic kind of an activity. So there's still a lot of discussions on how receptive will it be also to have those artifacts. It's not even artifacts, it's actually literally the dead bodies of the people that they have taken away there and taken their heads and are returning, So it is actually a very religious something that is very closely connected to, very deep to the culture where there will be a lot of questions raised. So returning artifacts alone really, it is a form of reconciliation, no doubt, maybe, hoping for the forgiveness of the Nagas, is it? But at the same time, for many of us who follow what is going on, particularly at the global level, I think the situation which the Nagas are facing now, the political negotiations, definitely I think we are looking at some kind of an intervention from other countries, because how long are we going to wait and look at these two negotiations, the two sides negotiating like this? I think no matter what, at the end of the day, Nagas, I don't think a single Naga will say no to the Naga flag. No matter what political differences, no matter what illusions they may have, everyone believes that the flag is ours, and therefore we have a right to the flag. And I'm sure the government of India also knows that. It's just trying to, play with words. As far as the constitution is concerned, Nagas have always had this constitution, right from the Yazabo, the NNC days. These different organizations and political groups all have and follow the same kind of a Yazabo. So it is nothing new to the Indian government that still allows Karnataka to have two flags, many other states also to keep on honoring their flags. And I don't think it is also proper for India to think that we are Kashmiris. The Kashmiri struggle started so many years after the Naga struggle. They learned so much. The Kashmiri women learned so much from the Naga mothers' struggle itself. And the Sri Lankan mothers also for that matter, So questions of the flag, the constitution and its controversy actually should not be coming up at this stage if the government of India is serious. As an academic, I think that these kind of academic debates is also an underestimation of the Naga intellectuals. It is almost like, the Nagas will not even understand how other countries are allowed two flags, or how Puerto Rico in the US is allowed to have its own independence, or even the Native Americans for that number, the kind of jurisdiction that they have. So I think a time has come where if things do not work out in the next few months, we have a lot of possibilities that may happen. But I really personally, and I'm sure even my mothers also will agree with me, that I think this is the right moment for not only the European countries, but particularly for the British government, that regularly sends its top people here to Nagaland most times, interact with us, intellectuals, interact with alumni, have a lot of interest on Nagaland. And the very fact that you had Pizzo himself living in England for so long. I remember when I went for the training with the Thompson Foundation, our trainer kept on boasting that he trained the MI-16. And it was interesting because, for the British, we know what it means. And I remember the first thing he said when I said, I'm a Naga, I'm from Nagaland. I remember the first thing that he said was, Nagaland, Nagas. The Nagas are a forgotten story. Same. So that's as late as 2006, on a fellowship of the British government to one of their most prestigious foundations, So if that is the attitude that they have ingrained among themselves, then one really wonders, how much of these kind of commitments do all these visitors really have? The Hornbill is coming. It's just the coming week. Again, we're already having hordes of these visitors coming to visit us. They're already making appointments with us. The Australian Council is making appointments. The American Consulate is making appointments with Naga civil society and Naga intellectuals. So this is literally a yearly kind of a cycle that has been happening, and for how many years? It's not that they don't know the Naga story, they know about it. Or what kind of action can they do? And how do we reach out to them? In the last 2 years, even the Global Naga Forum has made several interventions at the United Nations, and we are well aware. The Special Rapporteur has written back on the Oting massacre, where the army had killed 14 civilians. But when the government of India is able to compensate in various ways, I think the United Nations at the end of the day is also definitely looking at India as a superpower. The very fact that the Security Council seat was also given to India when there was a lot of agitation against it. So I think we do know where we are headed to. And if India really doesn't come across, you never know, you might find a whole lot of Nagas turning eastwards. Why do we talk so much about China? China lives just next door. The whole of Burma is actually economically taken over by China. So the Western powers, one really needs to understand who advises them is one. Secondly, even in India, for that matter, who really advises the Indian political decision-making bodies? Very often it is people who really underestimate, I think, the knowledge and the strength of the NAGAs.
We went and we condemned Mr. Isaac, myself, in the jungle in Holland, condemned the Shillong Accord. When the Indian authorities closely examined and at once they understood that, and they said openly, Shillong Accord is no more. That is it. Because Shillong Accord was condemned by us much earlier when we were in China. We went back and condemned it. And so it is clear, our position is safe. Indians themselves said, Shillong Accord is no more. That is the reason why we have the right, Nagas, because we condemned the Shillong Accord before. The Chinese also came to know. Yes, Shillong Accord is no more. So they declared. The Chinese were very clear. They said, yes, it is clear. The Chinese started trusting more and more on us. Have you? I mean, we surrendered to the Indians. No. We were more and more firm and more clear. And so, things are like this. And so, Naga history is unique. Position is also unique. Nagas were never under the Indian. Never under the Indian. Naga history is unique. Solution must also be unique. So it was openly declared. And so it is like this. After having made everything clear, now, after this, also, they started talking, repeating the same mistake, when they started betraying their own commitment. Yes, we were not happy. It is an insult to us. Therefore, it is this. We started judging and challenging them.
The 9-point agreement signed in 1947 with the Nagas and during the British colony. And then having a 2-time ceasefire, it is not a joke. The ceasefire is between two countries. We don't have, within the country, we don't have usually signing ceasefire. Nehru forcibly signed this 1960-point agreement and inaugurated the Nagaland state in 1963. Finally, out of desperation, he has to agree to have the first ceasefire in 1964 with the NNC PISO's leadership and go on talking from 1965 to till 72. It was a hectic dialogue has taken place. The second ceasefire came in 1997. This is not a joke, it is a ceasefire, but they have been gone for talking for so many years and this government of India has been just neglecting or ignoring, so to say.
How the Naga civil societies, Naga organizations have been collaborating to see that the aspirations of the Naga people are achieved at the earliest. Pre-ceasefire period, how the Naga civil societies have really struggled to see that there is a peaceful, non-violent settlement to the Indo-Naga political issue. With the contribution and efforts of the Naga civil societies, ceasefire came in 97, the second ceasefire. Post-ceasefire, the Naga civil societies, the Naga Hoho, the Naga Students Federation, the Naga Mothers, the Naga People's Movement for Human Rights, the United Naga Council, the Naga Women's Union Manipur, all of us came together and we pursued and we gave our best effort to ensure that a peaceful settlement takes place. During this period of ceasefire, we also want to see that what the Naga people aspire for, an honorable and acceptable settlement, be ensured. But unfortunately, the government of India, as stated earlier, seems to deviate from its commitment. The government of India is not for a peaceful settlement, but to further divide the people, Naga people, and see that and ensure that Nagas are a lost people. Government of India tries to ensure that Nagas doesn't have history. They try to undo our history. And this is where we are. Series of agreements were signed in the past, and with the latest 2015 Framework Agreement, where the world have witnessed how it was signed. In spite of declaring to the world, the government of India still continues to deny whatever they have stated. And today, if we are to look at the present Naga society and how the government of India has employed divisive policies, how many groups among the Nagas have come in? And the hand behind this is the government of India, the raw agents, the intelligence bureau, all the agencies of the government of India have came into Naga areas and they have started dividing us. The objective, the sole goal for negotiation is getting faded day by day. They have forgotten what was signed in 2001, where they have stated very categorically that negotiation will take place at the highest level, that is the Prime Minister level, without conditions, in a third neutral country. But what has happened today? Negotiation has come inside Nagaland, and they are not being able to carry forward what was supposed to be negotiated. In the pretext of constitution and flag, they are delaying it, which is not true. And if the identity of the Naga people is not honored through this negotiation, Nagas are not ready to accept any settlement, and we will never call it as a settlement. We only wish that if the international community, like today as you have come in, if you can be an agent, listen to our story and tell the world who the Nagas are.
Remember, this is the last. Why? Because they have betrayed.
I'm standing here in the tennis court where the last battle of World War II was fought and the Japanese forces that was invading was put to a stop by the Britishers with the help of the Naga people. How painful the people of this area have gone through in terms of deaths and miseries, entire villages burned down. But the fact is that even when Britishers were administering this part of the continent, Nagas have submitted a memorandum to the Simon Commission in 1929 itself, stating very clearly that Nagas want to be left alone when Britishers leave this part of the country.
For us, it is participatory democracy. Decisions are taken collectively in a cooperative manner. There is no one arbitrator. Consensus is evolved through community discussion, elaborate discussions. Some people say too much of democracy, and yet that is the reason why most of our biodiversity continues to exist, and that's the reality globally 5% of indigenous peoples are protecting and conserving at least 80% of the global biodiversity. And Nagas are contributing to that in good measure. But this is under continuous threat because of globalization, capitalism, neoliberal policies and programs, which is threatening the whole world and also the indigenous Naga people. Our way of life, our self-rule governance system is under threat. It has been under threat when we were brought under forcefully under the Indian government by force. In 1963, we were made a state. From that time onwards, our way of life has been destroyed, contaminated with money, with political, different alien political system. And yet, in spite of these challenges, Nagas continue to hold on, hold fast to our way of democracy. And it will not die away because it is in our blood, it is in our DNA, it is our worldview. As long as this contamination doesn't destroy us completely, we still have hope that this way of democracy will sustain us for another few more decades, if not centuries.
Listen to our story and tell the world who the Nagas are.